So this is a rundown on the Pythagorean Theorem. Pythagorean Theorem is something that we use to find a missing side of a triangle if we are given two sides and that triangle has to be a right triangle. So you have to see that there's a right angle or a 90 degree in there somewhere. The formula for the Pythagorean Theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm sure most of you can remember that. Let's start with the first one. The first step in using the Pythagorean Theorem is making sure that your numbers are going into the right place. You have an A, a B, and a C, which represents the three sides of the triangle, but the A and the B represent the two legs of the triangle, and the C represents the hypotenuse of the triangle. In the first example, I have the two legs of the triangle. I have the 3 and the 4, and the x is the hypotenuse. So when I'm using the Pythagorean Theorem, my 3 and my 4 are going to go in for A and B. So I'm going to say 3 squared plus 4 squared equals the c squared, and in this case would be x. So I'm going to say x squared. I'm going to simplify this equation by carrying out the squares. So 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, and x squared I'm keeping as x squared. If I add 9 and 16 together, I get 25. That equals x squared. And then to get the x by itself, I've got to remove the square that's attached to it, the exponent that's the 2. And to get rid of that, I have to square root both sides. So I'm going to square root, and that's going to leave me with x equals the square root of 25, which is 5. That's how you would use the Pythagorean Theorem to solve for the hypotenuse. But let's look at number 2. Here I don't have a hypotenuse missing, I have a leg that's missing. So when I'm plugging my numbers in for A, B, and C, I've got to be careful about what goes where. I'm now going to use the 5 and the y to plug in for my A and B. And it doesn't really matter what order you put them in because A and B is connected through addition, and it doesn't matter what order you add in. What does matter is that the 13 goes in for the c because the 13 is the hypotenuse. So in this case, I'm going to write 5 squared plus y squared equals 13 squared because the 13 would be my c. Now I can solve. 5 squared is 25 plus my y squared I can't do anything with, so I'm going to drop it down, equals 13 squared, which is 169. To get the y squared by itself, I need to subtract 25 from both sides, which gives me y squared equals 144. The same thing happens over here like it did in this step, where I've got a square and I'm undoing the square with a square root. And the square root of 144 is 12. So the missing side there would be 12. And that's how you use the Pythagorean Theorem to find the hypotenuse and find the leg.